Days and counting until the crucial midterm elections. And according to a new Washington Post ABC News poll, President Obama's approval rating now stands at an all-time low of 40%. That's in line with a 40% approval rating in the latest Fox News poll. So what does this mean for Democrats who are struggling to maintain control of the Senate? Weston Wamp is a GOP analyst and former two-time congressional candidate. Richard Fowler is Democratic strategist and a radio talk show host. Richard, are you worried?
Not at all, and I'll tell you why. I think, listen, there's no question we have an uphill battle this midterm elections, but the good news here is the president is not on the ballot. This election is going to be about kitchen table issues, and on kitchen table issues, Democrats just fare better, and all the polls show that. If you look at what's happening in the Pennsylvania governor's race, you see that the people of Pennsylvania want a Democrat in office and not a Republican. So on the state by state, Democrats are doing pretty well, even though the president is not on the ballot, and these approval ratings don't really hold any weight. Well,
you got to be worried, though, about 39% of Americans seeing the Democratic Party favorably. That is a number that is higher than the Republican approval rating, but the Republican approval rating has held steady. The Democratic rating has been falling.
No, that's definitely true. Like I said, this is definitely going to be an uphill battle for Democrats. But I think what you're seeing from these candidates is they all have an independent streak to them, whether you're talking about Senator Kay Hagan in North Carolina or you're talking about Charlie Crist in Florida. These are candidates that have independent streaks to them, and they're appealing to the American people. It's really not about party labels here. It's really more so about the issues.
Kind of interesting, Weston, because Richard just said that the president is not on the ballot and that's the good news here.
Well, Pennsylvania, which he referenced, is also not one of the states that's going to determine whether Republicans take the Senate. In Arkansas and Louisiana, what you're seeing more than anything is that in these midterms, Republicans are going to win on the backs of a really strong turnout model. It won't serve us well in 2016, but right now, the country is looking to Washington for leadership. They're seeing dysfunction, and Republicans are looking like they're going to go vote in the midterms, and Democrats aren't.
Well, Richard, go ahead.
But it's beyond just the Senate, John. I mean, we're also talking about a lot of governor's mansions that are up for grabs this election, and that's where Republicans aren't focusing their attention. They're so focused on winning the United States, and they're forgetting that without governor's mansion is going to be the key for Democrats to maintain the White House in 2016. And so the fact that Democrats are doing well in a lot of governor's races is going to be critical. But beyond that point, I think if you look at the state by state, you look at Alaska, where Mark Begich is in a neck and neck. You look at North Carolina, where Kay Hagan is up by by 2 or 3 points. You look at Louisiana, where Landry's up by a couple points. You see independent street candidates are doing pretty well in this midterm election.
I remember, Weston, back during President Obama's first campaign in 2008, he was essentially openly mocking President George W. Bush. Well, what goes around comes around. These approval ratings of President Obama are as low as they were for President Bush, at the nadir of his term in office.
Sure. Well, this may be the new normal. And unfortunately, now President Obama is seeing what it's like to be really in the crosshairs. And it's difficult. It's a perfect storm for Republicans. Again, I don't think this will benefit us long term, but there is a short term opportunity. Where Richard is not exactly right about the feelings of the American public is there's one issue, a data point buried in this survey that's really important to where the two parties stand. On most issues, the country has very little confidence in either party, and it's hard to find a differentiating factor. But on the size and the role of the federal government and the party's understanding on that issue, Republicans lead 48-35. That's our calling card. That's our ticket to winning, I think, female voters moving forward. It certainly should be our ticket to winning pragmatic millennial voters if my party is going to be able to compete among my generation.
Yeah, 77% of people say they are worried about the country's economic future. Weston Wamp, Richard Fowler, thank you both.
Thank you.